The trial started today of two men accused of killing a man from Fakenham in Norfolk. Mr Murphy was found dead in his home in Kings Road in the town last year. Sasha Twining was at Norwich Crown Court for us.
Stephen Murphy was described in court today as having a checkered history with bouts of drinking and drug taking. His mother, Valerie Tuck, seen here being supported by her daughter-in-law, had bought him a house in Fakenham to help him make a fresh start. It was here that she found him dead in his hallway with multiple stab wounds last October. The prosecution alleged that Stephen Murphy had had a previous violent altercation with one of the defendants, James Cameron, over a woman, and there was lingering bad feeling between the two. It was claimed in court 53-year-old James Cameron hatched a plan with his son, Andrew Cameron, to take revenge. The son and his friend, Alexander Dewar, then carried out the plan. In court today, prosecutor Karim Cahill QC claimed the two men, Andrew Cameron and Alexander Dewar, had boasted to various friends about their involvement in Stephen Murphy's murder. The prosecution also laid out computer internet search records, phone records, CCTV and bank withdrawal records that they claim show the two men had driven from their houses in Blackpool to Stephen Murphy's house in Fakenham on the day of his murder. All three men deny all charges against them. The case is expected to last 5 weeks. Sasha Twining, Anglia News, Norwich.
Meanwhile, police investigating the murder of a teenager in a Luton park have arrested a 17-year-old. Michael Simwanza died of a stab wound to the chest after he was attacked on Saturday at the Kingsway Recreation Ground. Police said a teenager handed himself into police in Cambridgeshire last night. He's now being held at Luton Police Station and is being questioned by officers from the Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Team. Firefighters in Essex have called off a ballot on industrial action after fire chiefs revised plans to use them as cover for striking colleagues in London. Crews from Essex will only be sent to the capital now if lives are at risk or if there's a terrorist incident. London firefighters are planning to strike on Friday. A dinner lady from Essex, sacked after she told parents their daughter was being bullied, has been having her say at an employment tribunal in Bury St Edmunds. Carol Hill says she was left feeling alone and isolated after she was dismissed, and she wants her job back. Ellie Price has more on that.
Carol Hill arrived for the second day of her employment tribunal. She was suspended from Great Tay Primary School after telling a couple their daughter had been tied up and hit with a skipping rope by other children in the playground. The head teacher suspended her, saying that telling them amounted to a breach of confidentiality. And once she then went to the local paper, she was fired after being told she'd brought the school into disrepute. Today, she told the tribunal she'd been left feeling hurt, alone and isolated when she lost her job. She was suspended from her voluntary role as a Beaver Group leader and lost her part-time cleaning job with one of the school's governors. She admitted she may have been naive and not fully understood the school's policy of confidentiality, although she said the schoolgirl's parents had the right to know. Earlier, the tribunal had heard from some of the school's governors as well as HR representatives from Essex County Council. They'd all been asked whether Carol Hill had received sufficient training with how to deal with such matters and whether her actions had amounted to a breach of the school's confidentiality policy. Carol Hill had worked at the school since 2002. She says she loves her job and wants it back. She'll be giving evidence again tomorrow morning. The tribunal's likely to last until the end of the week. Ellie Price, Anglia News.
An Essex MP has spoken out in Parliament over the state of part of our rail service. Priti Patel, the MP for Witham, has raised concerns over National Express East Anglia. With fares set to rise next year, she's called for an improvement in the quality of the trains as well as the service to passengers.
I have a very busy commuter constituency, so I'm constantly hearing about the issues from commuters, about their experience and the overall performance of National Express. Their concern is very much along punctuality, the quality of service, overcrowding.
Priti Patel there. Now, all 9 Norfolk MPs have joined forces to try to save RAF Marham. The airbase near King's Lynn is fighting for its future as the government looks to make big defence cuts. The MPs have written to the Defence Secretary calling for Marham to become the sole base for Tornado jets. The West Norfolk base is in competition for survival against RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland.
The engineering capability is currently at Marham, and it would cost 50 million to move it elsewhere. It's also the case that it's better located for Afghanistan in terms of getting the planes over there. But also, unemployment is higher in West Norfolk than it is in Moray and Scotland, so it would have a more devastating effect on the local economy.
Now, a sports centre in Norwich looks set to be one of the first victims of council cuts. The sports hall at Wensum Lodge is used for badminton and five-a-side football. The County Council says it can't justify spending money to keep the 1960s building open, though the squash courts next door may survive the cuts. Scientists at the University of Essex are investigating how the great outdoors can help combat stress at work. It's thanks to a £90,000 grant from the British Heart Foundation. The 3-year project will explore whether taking time out of the office is good for your mental health.
Welcome back to the Astrium satellite factory in Stevenage for the last in our series looking at the challenging economic climate, the Anglia number crunch. We'll have to work longer and retire later seems to be a theme that's emerged since the cuts were announced. But how much money will we have to live on when we do retire? Well, with us is Michelle Slade from Moneyfacts, our personal and family finance expert. Hello again, Michelle. First of all, can you remind us what the government is proposing?
Well, what their main proposal is that by 2020 people will retire at the age of 66, and there'll be a stepped system up till then, so people sort of younger age now doing retirement now will retire a bit later on.
Now, private pension plans have had quite a mixed press recently. What are your views on them?
They have had a bit of mixed press, but they're always worth taking out. Obviously, the state pension isn't quite as good maybe as it could be, so people taking out a personal pension, you know, they can retire earlier from age 55 with one of those, and they're worth saving for, because if you start early, you can save up a reasonable-sized nest egg.
Now, financing for our future is a major worry for many, many people. What do you think about selling the equity in your home?
I mean, selling equity in the home is a good option for some people. I mean, obviously, if you're downsizing a property, you know, to a smaller one, you can get a reasonable chunk of equity there. But obviously, with falling house prices, it's not quite as good as it has been in the past. So it's a good option, but don't have it as your main option.
Right. Michelle, thank you very much for all the sound advice you've given us over the last 4 weeks. Now, we've been asking for your comments, and David Hughes, well, he's been sifting through them, haven't you, David?
Yes, lots of comments in. This one from Elaine Pride from Milton Keynes. After 55, everyone should work part-time to train up youngsters. And then there's Mick Hawkin from Colchester. To be honest, older people are more reliable. They turn up every day, more loyal. Paul McCluskey from Norfolk, you should be allowed to work until you feel ready to retire. Colin Jacobs from Beccles, too many OAPs are working, but they will work, unlike the young. And Sue Woods from North Walsham, I am worried about the pension age. People should be able to retire, for example, men at 60, women at 55, so that jobs become available for the younger generation. So lots of comments coming in.
Yes, and thank you very much for all of those. And this is our final one, isn't it, David?
It is. We've been all around the region. We've been looking at how this crisis has been hitting us. We've commissioned our own research. That research looked at actually how some areas of our region were actually quite vulnerable to the cuts. But conversely, on the more encouraging side, it also looked at how adaptable those places are. And actually, Stevenage, where we are tonight, is one of those places. It's quite vulnerable to the cuts, but also because of the high-tech industries here and the workforce, it's quite adaptable too. We'll be keeping an eye on the situation over the next few weeks, months and years.
We certainly will. Thank you very much. And that is all from the Anglia Number Crunch tonight at Stevenage. Back to you in the studio, Jonathan.
Becky, David, thank you very much indeed for all of that, and of course the rest of the team down there. Now then, what I wonder is your idea of happiness. Is it a holiday in the sun, a bit more extra cash in your wallet, or perhaps is it landing a dynamic job? Well, a new survey reckons here in the East we like the simple pleasures best, like wolfing down a huge pizza in front of the telly. Here's Natalie Gray.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Singing clearly makes these children happy at St William's Primary School in Norwich. But what about the rest of us?
Well, apparently the pinnacle of contentment in our region is watching telly while scoffing pizza or chocolates. Happy there, guys?
Oh, yeah.
The radio poll also reveals that people in East Anglia and Yorkshire are the happiest in the country with where they live. Why? Because of green spaces, good local facilities and friendly local communities. But most people see money as the key to happiness. A salary of 40,000 or more, or a lottery win would do. Tell that to Norfolk winner Michael Carroll, who squandered his £9.7 million fortune. Experts at Cambridge University say there are secrets to well-being.
It's about relationships. It's about being active, because being active is as important for our minds and our mental state as it is for our body. Taking notice, so taking notice of the things around us, but also reflecting on what's going on inside us. Being engaged in life, learning new things. And finally, and in some ways most importantly, is about giving. It's not so much what we get from others, but what we give to others that actually creates happiness.
So what makes people in Norwich happy?
A sunny day, good health and a walk in the country.
The love of a good woman, and that good woman is my wife.
Chocolate.
Playing with my dog. When my bunnies jump on me when I give them their carrots.
Watching Anglia tonight.
With no worries, this lot can't help but be happy. Natalie Gray, Anglia News, Norwich.
And they've got great taste, haven't they? Right, well, plenty more of your news hour still to come. Here's a quick look at some of the national stories coming your way. One of our stories there. Right, let's see what the weather's up to now, shall we? Here's Amanda. And that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.